Welcome to This Week with Old Sarge. This week, talking about Redstone Arsenal, Alabama. Yep, after 7 years or so, finally graduated college with a 4-year degree. More on that at a later time, there's good reason. So, done graduated, got commissioned, second lieutenant, United States Army, got my orders, headed to Redstone Arsenal, Alabama. Going to be there for the officer basic course, 6 months. Going to learn everything there is to know about doggone ammo in the military. And there's a lot of different types of ammo in the military, so 6 months, it's going to be busy. Fortunately, one of our senior instructors there, retired Marine, Gunny Goodman, wealth of knowledge. Wealth of knowledge. Lord have mercy. Talk about someone who's been there, done that, and got the t-shirt. That's Gunny Goodman. So he taught us about fixed and semi-fixed and separate load and ammunition. Talked to us about all the different designs of propellant depending on what the use was for to make sure the burn rate's correct. Taught us about civilian dynamite and the difference between it and military dynamite. Taught us all about demo ranges, just everything in the world you want to know about. ICDPM. Guy knew this stuff like the back of his hand. Woo! Talk about a wealth of knowledge. And not only did he have a wealth of knowledge, but he was willing to share it. And that's what makes a big difference. So, a lot of times he'd make a point to us by telling us about something in his past to really bring it home to us. So one of those times he was telling us about something that happened was back when he was in Vietnam. He was helping take care of this big ammunition storage area. I believe it was outside of Saigon. Well, we're talking acres and acres of earth-covered magazines, big old concrete structures, got dirt, dirt all over the top of them. Plant the grass or whatever native vegetation you have, big old blast wall, big old blast doors. Got to make sure they're all lined up so one blowing doesn't blow off the next one and the next one like dominoes. It's a pretty big operation. It's huge. So he's there with a lot of other folks taking care of business. Well, as it happens, there's always civilian contractors in war. You know, they build airfields, put in water systems, septic systems, build housing, whatever the hell you need. Well, there's a group of civilians. They had talked to the higher ups in the old chain of command that got permission to store some civilian type dynamite downrange in one of the earth covered magazines. Now this bears with a little explaining. Military dynamite is very stable. Just stack it and forget about it. Don't have to do a thing with it. Civilian dynamite, paper tube, wrap it in some paper, crimp that paper off on the end like a big firecracker, fill that thing full of sawdust, and then just real easy whisper a bunch of nitroglycerin in there, twist off the other end, got yourself a stick of civilian dynamite. One problem, Mother Nature and gravity. So heat and gravity affect civilian dynamite. So, like everything else, there's a doggone table in a book that tells you what you need to do. If you're having a temperature of such and such in your earth-covered magazine or wherever you're storing this dynamite, you're going to have to flip that case of dynamite 180 degrees because gravity starts pulling the nitro down towards the bottom of that stick of dynamite. So you flip it 180 degrees, now the nitro starts running back down the other way. So maybe every 3 or 4 days, maybe a week, whatever it is, depending on the temperature, you got to take care of business. So every case of dynamite you have has to be flipped on this schedule, or you're going to have a problem. Because if that nitro leaks out, there ain't no way to clean that up. So, Gunny Goodman He's aware that the civilians are storing this dynamite down there. They said they're good to go. They understand they got to flip it and they got to rotate it. They got to do all the things they got to do with this to keep it safe. All right. So sometime later, he goes down to check to make sure that they've been keeping up on the rotation schedule. Because you check, recheck, check again. Don't leave anything to chance. So he goes down range to this big earth cover magazine. Got the key with him. Unlocks the thing. Eases that big old blast door open. Reaches inside and flips on the light. And he said right then it felt like my soul had left my mortal body. Because all he could see was these huge brown liquid gooey piles of nitroglycerin all over the floor of this magazine. He could see where it ran down the boxes, from the top box to the second box, the third one, fourth one, all the way down to the pallet, and ran out onto the floor. And he's like, holy shit. And he cannot, woo, talk about scared. Next move may be your last one. He reaches up real easy and he flips that light off. He said he whispered that door back shut, the big old blast door, put the lock on it, and then he started walking real easy, nice and steady away from this earth cover mag. And then he took off running, sprinting all the way back up to operations. He grabbed the boss up there and said, "You got a problem." "What kind of problem we got, Gunny?" He says, "You got nitroglycerin leaked all over the floor of this magazine, and fucking civilians did not rotate their dynamite like they were supposed to, and the nitro was leaked out all over everything." "Ooh, what are we gonna do, Gunny?" "The hell you mean, what we gonna do? Can't shovel it up, can't sweep it up, you can't turn a hose on it. Any kind of shock is going to set this stuff off. It's freaking nitroglycerin. Not a doggone thing you can do." Woo! That's a problem. That's a problem without a solution. And that don't happen too doggone often. When it does, it gets your attention. So, running the problem up chain of command, everybody's putting in their 2 cents worth. Everybody's trying to come up with ideas. What we're going to do, how we're going to fix this, pop, 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 pop. Fortunately, problem solved itself. Don't really know for sure. Even according to him, I looked it up on the internet, and it doesn't say either. But Gunny Goodman figures when they were burning trash, they had a big trash pile outside the ammunition storage area. All the units threw their trash there, need to be burned, and they burn it once a week. Well, he figures that maybe a mortar round or something got tossed in there by mistake with some of the prop charge still on it, the propellant. So when they set this fire off to burn up all this trash, well, this thing heated up, the propellant started burning, poof, it got popped out of the old fire. And somehow, by providence, whatever, this thing hit this magazine just right, with just enough force. I don't know, you couldn't do it if you were trying, but it set off the nitro. Whoo! You talk about an explosion and a crater. Lord have mercy. It's right on the internet. It was big. It was real big. Wind was breaking 10 miles away and all that. It was big. What a shock wave. Man, this thing blew, and it blew big. Important lesson to remember, because you don't always have a solution. So, when I started running the ammunition storage area of Fort Riley, I was very fortunate. Had a real good chief warrant officer. Made warrant officer 4 by the time I left there. Got his master blaster badge. Still got all 10 fingers, so you know he knew what he was doing. Spent a lot of time in EOD. No problems. Always thought his way through every situation. Well, EOD, like everybody else, they got people that are on duty. They got people that are off on some kind of temporary duty somewhere doing training, helping out overseas, whatever. So anyway, him and one of his friends was on duty one day, and they got a call from the old chain of command. The local police department outside the fort said there was a bank robbery over the weekend, and they found this stainless steel thermos full of some kind of dark liquid, and they don't know what it is, and they would like EOD to come down and take a look at it. Well, you're talking about the right people for the job. They run out to their truck full of EOD goodies and tools, little time fuse, little deck cord, little explosive here and there. They're ready for anything they're going to find, and they head out, run into town, get up to the bank, go in there. Police had already unscrewed the lid off of this thermos, so it's just sitting there next to the screw top sitting there next to the thermos. And my chief and his buddy look inside this thermos, and they're like, "Oh shit." And the police are like, "What?" And he said, "Look, this thermos is full of nitro. You need to get everybody in a several block radius from this bank out of their business, their house, whatever. Evacuate them all now. Because what are you going to do with it? I mean, any kind of shock's going to set this thing off. A little static electricity on your fingers. It's in a freaking aluminum thermos, for crying out loud." These bank robbers were crazy. So my chief and his buddy are sitting there thinking, what the hell are we going to do? How are we going to get rid of this stuff? We got to get it out, from where it's at, out to the fort, to the demo range, and blow this stuff up. How are we going to do that without killing ourselves? So they thought and come up with an idea. They said, you know what we need? We need a 5-pound bag of kitty litter, and we need one of them totes. One of them plastic containers or aluminum, whatever they had at the time. So that's what they did. They went and bought a 5-pound bag of kitty litter and a tote. They poured all the kitty litter inside the tote. Then they took doggone thermos real easy and kind of lifted the tote up at the same angle and matched them, and then just slowly let that nitro soak into that clay kitty litter. And they just let it soak and soak and soak until the thermos was empty. Now all the nitro is suspended in the kitty litter. Kitty litter sucked it up. It's all nice and stable now. A hell of a lot more stable than it was in the thermos. Ease that thing outside, get it to the range. Boom! Blow that up. That's some doggone good thinking right there. Real good thinking. Now I got to think about my other point I was going to make. Shit. I remember now. Too late. Go ahead. All right. My director just reminded me. Should have had one of them earpieces in. He could have whispered it to me. So, when my chief's still in the EOD unit, don't know where he was stationed at the time, but they had this commanding general on post. It's a real ball buster when it come to EOD. He'd like to take a brick. He'd put it in one of them paper bags like you put your school lunch in, roll the top up real tight. And then he'd leave it in a building, and he would call EOD and say, hey, there's a suspicious package. So whoever was on duty with the EOD that day would have to load up in their truck full of goodies, drive over there, make sure the scene's all safe, everybody's out of the building, go to where this package was seen, take a look at it. If you can access it, take a razor knife, slit that thing, ease that paper open a little bit and give her a look, and it's a brick. So now this kept happening, so they getting a little bit tired of this commanding general and his cries, for wolf and all that kind of crap. So what happens when you keep crying wolf? Well, the wolf's gonna bite you in the ass one of these days. So it all came to a head when this crazy guy was was on duty at EOD one day when one of these calls came in. General says there's a suspicious package in his latrine, his head there in headquarters. So, which is a bathroom. He's got, Commander General, so he's got his own setup, right? Only he uses it. So, here we go. They go driving out there. The whole headquarters building's been evacuated. EOD goes inside. But now the crazy guy, he's got himself a little plan here. So he's really hopeful this thing's going to work out. So he gets in there and takes a look. Yep, there's the old brown paper bag. But it's kind of wedged in behind the toilet where he can't get to it, Safety first. Can't see what it is. What are you going to do? Well, EOD procedure says rapid disassembly. Rapid disassembly. Well, that's something we learned at Redstone Arsenal. You can't figure out what it is, or you can't get it out of where it is, or it's otherwise unsafe, you're going to put some explosive next to that thing. You're going to put a little time fuse on it, a little non-electric detonator. Going to pop that thing, let that fuse burn, and rapid disassembly happens in the form of the Commanding General's toilet going right out the front of that headquarters building, and what's left of it lands right in the doggone parade field out front. Bitch in the ass there, Commander General. He didn't bug EOD anymore. Should have been bugging him in the first place. So, shout out section this week. All my B troopers out there, appreciate you doing the JOB. Holding true to your oath. Watch out for these doggone crazy politicians and their crazy little rules they come up with. You want to do nothing but get you jammed up. People all over the country bowing up, not wanting to play anymore with this. Stay at home and don't go to work. So, keep using your discretion. Always keep your oath in mind. Never go against your oath, no matter what a politician says. Military, we appreciate what you're doing out there, doggone it. Keeping us safe overseas. You're away from your loved ones, but you're still taking care of the mission. Still doing what needs to be done. We appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you very much. So till next week. Bye now.